Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Appreciate you stopping by. If this is your first time, appreciate you coming here for the first time, checking us out, seeing how we do things here. I have a lot of interests, things that I really enjoy doing, and this platform is just a medium for me to be able to share that as much as possible. So I'm a musician, I like making beats, I developed a passion for cooking over the last 7, 8 years. And have a goal, a life goal, to open up a food truck when I retire. So this journey that I'm on, hopefully y'all can ride with me, and then one day patronize my food truck. This is not a cooking show, but because I cook, and this channel is all about the many dimensions of myself and what I contribute here to the world. Cooking is something that has become quite therapeutic for me. I know it's not therapy, but it definitely feels very therapeutic. Putting all the different ingredients in is almost like a piece of art. Colors the flavor, and it can taste different each and every time. I do it the old school way. As a colleague of mine shared with me the other day when she was doing a cooking episode, that I just eyeball it. So I'm not going to give you in the recipe a quarter cup or a teaspoon here and there. You just eyeball it and shake. You eyeball it and shake, just don't put too much, especially that salt, because that salt can ruin the whole entire thing. So with that said, what are we cooking today? We're gonna cook some oxtail. Straight up Jamaican dish. Classic. The sticky, icky oxtail. The kind that have you all like, that kind of oxtail. So if you're vegan and vegetarian, don't fret. One day I'll do an episode strictly for you. But today is for my carnivores, my fellow meat eaters. We're gonna rock out on some oxtail without question. So what do you need? You're gonna need a couple of things. The ingredients. How about we start with the oxtail, because it's frozen. I buy it from, it's a Caribbean market, Caribbean market down on New Hampshire Avenue here, in the Maryland area. But if you go to any international food store and they have a meat section, just go back to the meat section and ask them for 7 pounds of oxtail. There's one spot that I go to, they serve it in bags, so it's already pre-cut, pre-done. And that's pretty convenient because they cut it kind of thin, which means you don't have to cook it as long, so that it is mouth-watering and falling off the bone. Today I actually have a combination of two places, because usually when I buy a bunch of meats, I try not to cook it all in one. I'll pluck off a couple and put it to the side a few times, and you do that 2 or 3 times, then you'll have a full pot to make another set. So this particular meat selection I got from 2 different sources. So we'll go ahead and show you those right now. So we can go ahead and get those get those in there so that they can get some hot water on there so it can, thaw out, do its thing. So, forgive the plastic bag, but I do try to reuse these bags as much as possible. So this is from the international store, and this is how they sell it at the Caribbean market. And the price wasn't bad, Price wasn't bad. You can see that price there. I don't know if it's going to focus on that, but it's about $15.45 for this, and this is not enough for more than one person. I mean, I guess 2 people can eat off of this, but I combine this one with the one I got from the other international market. These are actually a lot thicker. Actually, if they could have cut these in half, it would be the size of these smaller ones. The smaller ones, the thin cut is great so that you don't have to cook it as long. So it doesn't take as long to get that nice soft texture. But we got both of these, so we're gonna go ahead and tear into them, get them into the pot. Dispose of this properly. So let me go ahead and get some water in there so these could thaw out, get nice and thawed. And then I'll show you the rest of the ingredients. Just getting some nice hot water on those. Fill it up all the way to the top. Make sure all of the pieces are submerged. And we'll let that sit for a little while till it's nice and thawed. And then we'll begin to put our dry ingredients, our dry rub or oxtail seasonings. Actually, some of them are wet and some of them are dry, which that'll make a lot more sense in a few minutes. So while that's thawing out over there in the sink in the stainless steel bowl there. By the way, I got that bowl from IKEA. It's one of the most used things that I've gotten from IKEA is a set of those stainless steel bowls. It comes in various sizes. Here's another one of the small ones right now that I got. A couple pieces of shrimp and a piece of steak because after I get this going, I'm gonna make me a little something brunch, so to speak. You're gonna cook this oxtail in a pot, and I would probably, I'm not a betting person, I don't gamble, but I would bet that any Caribbean household that you go into, you're gonna see a pot just like this. Cast iron, silver, with a nice top and lid. Nice big size to fit all this oxtail so it can sit and sort of marinate and all those juices and seasonings just kind of sit up in there. But I'll go and grab the pot and show you, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you of a Caribbean household, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know. Fantastic. I don't know what the name of this pot is. If anybody knows an actual name for a pot like this, go ahead and type that in the comments below. Educate me a little bit. But you know, if you have a Caribbean household, Caribbean lineage, chances are you got one of these in your crib. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on the stove, put some olive oil in there, and get ready to, you know, toss that meat in there. So, you know, you see that whole process for real. All right, let's begin with the ingredients. What do we need to rub on this oxtail so that it's just like amazing, without question? So, oh, okay. Cat's playing me and words with friends. But right now, I'm gonna let that notification stay right there while I continue to work with y'all on this oxtail. So my first ingredient actually is not an ingredient at all for the oxtail, but it really sets the stage and the mood. I usually like Cavassier, but I'm rocking with the I can't even pronounce that. But I'm rocking with that right now because, you know, if you're on a budget, you know, name brand is name brand. Some people say if you don't know, you don't know. But ain't nothing wrong with the name brand, the no name brand cognac. Cavassier is cool, but I can rock with that one. So go ahead and set the mood for that cooking session. I usually, that's pretty decent. Go ahead and cover that. And then, where's my, I gotta put the sweet and lime juice in there. Hold up, get that sweet and lime juice. All right, so ingredients. Super important to have the garlic salt. This is Lowry's, but you know, garlic salt is garlic salt, right? I like using garlic salt versus just regular salt, so I don't use any regular salt in this dish. I sprinkle the garlic salt on there and I'm good. I get that nice garlicky flavor. This is also has ground parsley in it. So you want to get the one that has the ground parsley. Get that ground parsley in there. You know, you think that those little tiny pieces of ingredients don't make a difference, but they make a huge difference in the overall taste and add to the whole flavor palette. So make sure you get that garlic salt with those parsley flakes in there. If you just have regular garlic salt that doesn't have anything in it, grab some parsley and throw that in there on the side. You know, and make your own garlic salt with parsley in it. All right, cool. Second one, I'm actually going to put some onions in there, and I'll show you the onion I like to use. I like white onions, no red onions. Sometimes people use scallions and that kind of thing. I like the nice white onion. All right, so chop that up nice and fine. I'll show you how that gets chopped up and put in the meal. And you can supplement it with some onion powder. Onion powder, this is like the secret magic ingredient. You put a little bit of onion powder and stuff, it's gonna take it over the top. Next thing for this recipe, you'll see a theme with the garlic. Garlic is a superfood, and certainly has a lot of health benefits, perhaps even some medicinal benefits. But I throw a couple of pieces of these in there. This is roasted garlic. You want the roasted garlic. There's something about that smoky roasted taste that comes across in the meal as well, and blends really well with all the other seasonings that you got going on in there. So this one I got actually from Marshall's. So don't sleep on Marshalls. When you go into Marshalls to go buy your Under Armour and, you know, all your fashions and this and that at good prices, go into that section in the back where they have the little popcorn and stuff like that. There's a whole little rack where you'll see a lot of olive oils and designer olive oils and seasons. Don't sleep. This costs $4.99. $4.99 from Marshalls. Don't sleep. Go to that section. Grab some of that stuff. The other really important ingredient in many Caribbean dishes, but definitely oxtail, is bam, ground cumin. You want cumin, and you want to be a little conservative with how you put this into your dish. Cumin is a very strong seasoning. It's very pungent. It's going to take up presence in the meal in terms of that flavor palette. It's going to take up presence like what? So you don't want to put a whole lot, but just enough where you get that flavor. This is another secret ingredient, ground cumin. And this is just from Giant, our local supermarket here in the state of Maryland, in Silver Spring at least. I know other places they got the Kroger, or maybe you got the Aldi where you at, wherever, it don't matter. You be good. Find you some cumin. Keep that on deck. And then the final ingredient I'll show you is not a dry ingredient, it's a liquid ingredient. So let me go to the refrigerator and grab that. So this one is by a company called Spur Tree Jamaican. It's called Oxtail Seasoning. See if you can see that. Oh, there you go. Oxtail Seasoning. Now with this, based on the amount of meat that you have, so for every pound of meat, you want to put maybe 2 tablespoons per pound of meat. It's different than what they say on the bottle. I'm just teaching you my little recipe, right? So if I have a pound of meat, I'm putting 2 tablespoons of this liquid sauce seasoning in on the oxtail. And then the last one, the last ingredient. Well, there's a last ingredient, and then there's an optional ingredient, depending on how much heat you can tolerate. So this is from Grace. Grace is a classic Jamaican brand, right? Browning sauce. Browning sauce. You want your oxtail to come out nice and brown. This is not going to add any flavor whatsoever. This is purely cosmetic, right? But you know, when you get that oxtail put on your plate and it's nice and brown and dark, it just really adds to the oxtail experience. And so you want to make sure you put probably about for 2 pounds of oxtail, I'll put 2 tablespoons of the browning sauce. So now for the optional bonus ingredient. I just discovered this at the Caribbean not the Caribbean market the other day, right? So you can see that. Scotch bonnet pepper flakes, right? So this is, you know, a dry, you know, almost like, you know, your pepper and your onions and your this and that. I like this because it doesn't require you to keep the actual Scotch bonnets around in a jar and pickled and that kind of thing. This, you sprinkle it and it's going to take you right to the same place that a regular Scotch bonnet pepper would take you. It's fire, straight up. This is another option. This is garlic and scallion allspice. If you wanted to use some of that, instead of using the garlic salt, you can use some of this, and then you can put your own salt on top of this. So you get the best of the garlic, the salt, and the scallions, and then combine that with the onions. It's gonna be off the chain. Watch, trust me. Cool. So I'll take a moment to honor some of the brothers that's not here no more. D, Killer, Derek Washington, my man, Kess, King Low. You know how we do. James, I see you all day long. Great. So let me go ahead and check and make sure that that oxtail is nice and thawed out so we can begin to... Oh, you know what I forgot? My bad. I almost lost my Jamaican card right there. Let me show you another ingredient that I forgot. Hold up. I almost lost my card. Bam. This is that real ginger. Although the other ginger that you can use, like the liquid one or the flakes, or you know, the powder, will also get the job done. But there's nothing like cooking that meat for 4 hours with pieces of this inside of the pot, just doing this thing, right? Get some real ginger, real ginger. All right, I think that's it. All the ingredients. Let me go ahead once again, grab the thawed out oxtail and begin to, I guess this is what they call putting your foot in it. So I'm about to put my foot in it, that up. All right, we back in. So what you didn't see was I just went over to the sink and drained the water off of the oxtail. You want to get all the water out. So I usually take my hand, and I'm even seeing some water right here right now, which I need to go back over to the sink and dump out. But I take my hand and cover the entire, as much as I can, and just turn it over. So let me go ahead and do that to get the rest of this water out. So I did do that, put my hand over the meat just like this, nice and wide. I got pretty big hands, so, and then just kind of get the wash of that water out. What I'm gonna do now is get some olive oil and sprinkle some olive oil all over this. Well, first I'm gonna wash my hands because I actually touched the meat. So let me go ahead and take care of that duty right now. And I just take the olive oil. I use, well, this is one of those lime juice containers that I repurpose as a dispenser for olive oil. So take some of it and just sprinkle it over the meat. There you go. Nice squig. Give it a nice squig. Again, I'm eyeballing it. I'm not measuring nothing out. Eyeballing it. And I'll just take my hands and do a nice little rub. Get all that olive oil to adhere to the meat. See, I'm putting my foot in it. I'm putting my hand in it, actually. But this is what we call putting the foot in it. Yeah, I mean, get all that around. And the reason why I use the olive oil on the meat, because I'm not marinating this overnight. Best case scenario is to put all your ingredients in and put it in the fridge for 24 hours before you cook it. But since I'm not doing that whole marination process, I put the olive oil on there so that when I put the dry seasoning on there, it just kind of sticks and sticks to the meat. Doesn't fall off, doesn't end up in the broth, kind of mostly. It stays on the meat. So that's the purpose of that real quick. Let me go ahead and wash my hands since I, was all in the meat like, let me wash my hands real quick. All right, I did use soap that time. It wasn't quite 20 seconds, but I think I'll be all right. Great. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and, let me go ahead and maneuver the camera so that you can see how I'm putting all these ingredients into and onto the meat. So there you go. First, I usually start with my salt base. So we go ahead and throw some of the garlic salt on there. And so once again, I'm eyeballing it so you can get a sense of how much I sprinkle on. And stop. See that? Can't tell you what that is in terms of spoons or quarter, whatever, who knows? I just eyeball it. I stopped there because I know some of the other ingredients that I have, especially this right here, will also have some salt content. So I'm spreading out my overall salt content over the course of a couple of different seasonings. Let's go ahead and throw some onion powder in there right now. Remember that onion powder? Boom. Eyeballing it. And there we go, nice little sprinkle. And then, let's see, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Next ingredient, you know what? Let's work with the roasted garlic. Remember that? Remember I showed y'all that? That's that roasted garlic from Marshall's. That's how much I'm going to use. Almost like a silver dollar. If you wanted to get a sense, put a nice silver dollar in the palm of your hand. And then boom. The other trick that I learned, because this is dry ingredients, if you take it and then take it between your fingers and squeeze it, and just kind of rub it against each other, you'll start to release that flavor. So as you're sprinkling it in, just kind of take it and grind it in between your fingers, like this, because it's dry. It's dry. It's been sitting in that bottle for who knows how long. All right, take it and then, you hear that? And then just sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Boom. All right. The next thing. What do you think is next? as I cover up my roasted garlic. What do you think is next? That secret ingredient. As if all these ingredients are not the secret, but you remember it. It's the cumin all day. There we go. Let me show you how much I use. Eyeball it for the 2 pounds. For 2 pounds of oxtail, there you go. That's what I use. It's already powderified, so if powderified is a word, I just made it up, but that works. Powderified. It's already powderified, so you ain't got to squeeze it like the other one. I usually squeeze it for like the roasted garlic and things like the thyme and that kind of thing. Matter of fact, I don't even think I mentioned thyme at all in the recipe. So yeah, you got to put a little thyme in here too. Not T-I-M-E, T-H-Y-M-E. Just sprinkle this, sprinkle it, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I'm actually not going to put the thyme in right now. I'm going to put the thyme in over the onions when I put those. Remember the onions? I'm going to put this in the pot, chop this up, put it in the pot, and throw the thyme on top of that. And then you want to do a nice little mix. So get your hand in there and just rub that around. Get that mix going. This is where the foot goes. You put your foot in it right here. Not putting your actual foot. Although, if you did, I'm not judging. But, rub that stuff around so it gets on there. And because that olive oil is on the meat, it's just sticking right to the meat. Fantastic. I'm forgetting ingredients left and right. So I also recognize I didn't put any black pepper. But let me wash my hands. And I'll put some black pepper on there. Now, black pepper is black pepper is black pepper, but I prefer to use the one I grind myself. So here's the black pepper. Bam. Kirkland brand. Is this Kirkland brand? Yeah, I think it is Kirkland brand. Kirkland. Go to Costco. Get yourself some black pepper that you just... I usually do 13. I do lucky number 13. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Great. Another thing you can do to mix this up is just take the pot and go like this. This way you put no hands on it. Get the dry ingredients rolling. Take the pot and go in a circular motion, counterclockwise. If you want to play around, go clockwise a little bit. Counterclockwise. What you want, shake it, shake. You want all that dry rub to get nice and around each and every bit of meat that's in the pot. Final ingredient. Well, next, I keep talking about the final ingredient. It's not the final ingredient. It's the next to final ingredient. Oxtail seasoning. I'm just going to eyeball it. Remember I said you want to put 2 tablespoons per pound of meat. So I'm not taking out a tablespoon, but I'm going to go ahead and just eyeball it. Done. Remember, this has salt in it as well. So because you already have a couple of salt-based seasonings up in there, you want to account for that as well. And the final ingredient, I mean it this time, the final ingredient is the browning sauce. But I'm actually going to go ahead and mix this up first. Put my foot in it. Not my actual foot, but you know, the hand. Put the hand up in there. And get all of that liquid oxtail seasoning from Spur Tree all in and around. And you might be saying to yourself, hey man, that looks kind of brown. Why would you put browning sauce on top of that? Well, it looks brown for the moment, but as it cooks, it will not be as brown. And trust me, when it comes off and ready to be plated, you want that nice brown oxtail. So there you go. Now this is where you give it the nice little smell test. Because if it begins to smell awesome when it's raw, it just means that it's seasoned nice and seasoned down nice and tight. Fantastic. Let me go wash my hands. All right, last ingredient. Last and final ingredient is the browning sauce from Grace. Just eyeballing it. I don't want it to be black. I just want it to be nice and brown. So, guess she'll give you a sense. Oh, okay. That's it. That's all I'll put. Perfect. So that should be nice and brown. When it's time to plate, you'll see how it comes out in the end. Take this, put your foot in it one last time. This is it. After that, you can wash your hands and be done. All right. Go ahead, put your elbow in it, put your foot in it. Take it, squig around, take all of it, turn, bam. Look at that. See how dark that is? All right. I know people are like, bro, that's gross. Nah, this is how you put your foot in it. That's how it works. Let me go wash this off my hands. All right, so you see, here we go. We back in. So give it that little smell test. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. When it smells good, when it's like this, that's how you know. Once it's cooked, you boil it down a couple times. By the time you get to that third hour, you know, turn that flame down nice and low. Let it sit for that fourth hour, and it's going to be succulent without question. So boom. Let me prepare the last of the ingredients. I still need to cut up the ginger and the onion so they can go in the pot. So we can throw this in there, bring it up to a nice boil, and then turn the flame down to low, and then go sit down and watch something. Get this out the way. And clean as we go. There's a couple things we don't need no more. We don't need this. You don't need any more to season it, actually. So I'll go ahead and put those up. By the way, this is refrigerate after opening. Refrigerate after opening. So this goes in the fridge. Don't put this back in the cabinet for 6 weeks until you make oxtail again. You see this ginger has a little bit of mold right here. It's cool, no worries. You know, it's been in the fridge for about a week or so. I'll just cut that off. You want to get all the skin off of the ginger. Just gently graze it because you don't want to take away any of the ginger in the skin. So just kind of graze it so you get as much of the skin off as possible. I guess if you had a grater, the grater could work also too. I just use a knife. Try to get as much of the skin off as possible before I cut into the actual ginger. It actually smells pretty awesome. So see how it looks when I get as much of the skin off as possible. And then I just cut into that. It's releasing all of that gingerly goodness. It's releasing all of that gingerly goodness. Look at that. Like you can put some sugar on it and just work with it as is. I cut them into pieces. And these are going to go right in the pot. Now, mind you, you don't eat these at all. If you get to the end of the pot and you start digging around for more oxtail, you might think that this is an actual piece of oxtail. And then when you bite into it, you realize very quickly that it's not. But so just keep them big enough so that they don't, that you easily recognize them when you're trying to plate your, your meal. Great. So that's that. Put that to the side. Let me get my onions going on. This is just a piece of pepper from something I was doing earlier. I'm actually going to use this with my little steak and shrimp in a minute. Go ahead. Remember the white onion? White onion, not the red one, not the traditional onion, not a scallion. Go ahead and cut that up. And we're going to use all of this. This was almost like just a little bit under a half an onion. Cut it all up, small pieces, and dice it somewhat. You're not even going to see these in the final meal. They're going to dissolve after being cooked for so many hours. There we go. Look at that. Don't let me forget the time. So I gotta go get some, not what time is it? Not the time. Body. Mars Day and the time, come on. Anyway, let me get the time. Okay, it was up in there. Dry time. Actually, I'm not going to put it on top of this. I'll throw it in the pot. Just a minute. Let me go ahead and reposition the camera so you can see how this happens and how this goes down in the actual pot on the stove. All right, let's go. Let's go. Put that to the side. Go ahead and turn the flame on. Nice and high, you see that? Get that cooking. Nice and high. Go ahead and take some of that olive oil and throw it in there. I'm gonna use the rest of what's in here. Oops. That actually wasn't olive oil, that was my lime juice, my bad. Gotta take this off. That's what happens when you have too many drinks when you're cooking and you have your oil and your lime juice in the same container. So I was supposed to look at the top. Can you see how this is nice and glistening? That's because that's oil. So I am going to use the rest of this inside of it, the pot. Well, I didn't use quite all of it. I did leave a little bit. All right. Let that come up to a nice little heat, and then we'll add the white onions and the ginger. Let that come to a nice little sizzle. What's sizzling is that there was that, I guess, that lime juice that I mistakenly put in there earlier. But any kind of water base is going to sizzle a little bit. But at least it lets you know when the oil is nice and hot and ready to go. All right, I'm about to go and grab the onions. Just gonna take my 2 hands, get a nice scoop, and then pour it in. See that? Y'all make sure y'all come when the food truck is finally open. Y'all make sure y'all come down to Florida, West Palm Beach. Come to the food truck. So now I'm going to take that thyme and I'm going to throw a little bit of dry thyme on top of that. Remember, I'm eyeballing it in terms of how much. Nice little, there we go. That's like a quarter, like a 25-cent piece in the palm of your hand. Nice little, pillow. You look at how much I use. And because it's the ingredient, remember you take it into your fingers and just kind of rub like that to release all of that goodness that's in that dry thyme. And then take it, sprinkle it, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle right on top. There we go. Boom. Find my spoon. Use a nice wooden spoon. Wooden spoon. Keep that going around. Smells awesome already. Like you can just go ahead and put this over some rice and you're good. But we want the whole thing. We want the oxtail. That's why we're here. We're here for some oxtail. Take the wooden spoon. Remember, wooden spoon. Wooden spoon. Just kind of roll that around. Let that do its thing. This is the part where people start telling you, "Oh man, that smells amazing. What is that?" It's just some onions, thyme, and ginger in the pot with some olive oil right now. Drink time. Come on. Drink with me. Let's go. Stop playing. It's not cool to drink alone. Cheers. So that is doing this thing. I'm grabbing what we worked on earlier. I am grabbing what we worked on earlier. Smell it one more time. Smell test. Now that's going to combine with the white onions, the ginger that's in the pot, the thyme, the olive oil. It's crazy. Remember, we sprinkled each and every piece of oxtail with olive oil when we started. So we just combine it. It's synergy. It's all day long. Let's go. Go ahead and take that and just pour it in there. You see that? Now you don't want to waste this. There's still some goodness up in there. Get a cup of water, put the cup of water in there, roll that around, and then you're going to eventually pour that water on top of that oxtail. wooden spoon. Mix it, stir it, get all that onions and garlic and you know the ginger from underneath. Just kind of, this is more putting your foot in it. This is more like stir it around. All right, I need to grab me a mitt, an oven mitt, so I can hold the pot. I ain't trying to burn myself. This is searing it. We're searing it right now. Searing it. You want it to be nice and seared. Get all that stuff from the bottom all around. All the onions that you put down, all that time. All the time that you spent doing it. That is T-I-M-E. You know, all the time you spent learning how to do this. This is what's up. Let's go. So after you did that nice little mix, I want you to put the cover on the pot. Then I want you to count to 60. All right, cover's on there, you gotta count to 60. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You know, let a minute transpire before you open up the lid and mix it around again. In the meantime, while we're letting this minute elapse, I'm gonna go ahead and take this. You remember this? You don't wanna waste this. This is all goodness. This is good flavor. Put a cup of water up in here, mix it around, and then pour it in there after that other minute elapses. There we go. Probably somewhere around 40 something seconds right now, close to 50. You know, let it do its thing. It's searing up in there. See how that is? You can take this, you can just kind of go like this. Or what I do is I knuckle it. I knuckle it. All this black stuff you see over here, knuckle that. Bring that down in there into the water. I'm sure there's some people in there that's like, ew, you know, but I believe as long as you practice good hygiene and wash your hands, like cooking involves your hands. It's going to involve your fingers, you know? And as long as you're a healthy dude or dudette or wherever you are on the spectrum, you know, you're good. But I want all that stuff to be down in there. Nice brown water. There we go. There we go. Nice brown water. You see that? Get off the sides. Get it in there. Stir it around. If you feel more comfortable using the spoon to do that and not your hands, you know, do you. I'm a hand person. Bam. Look at that. See that? That's all goodness. You want to take this, open the pot lid. Oh, man. And then take that same water, take all that, and then throw it right over there. Now you can put this in the sink and, you know, till you're ready to wash it. Go ahead and take your wooden spoon, stir. Cover it. Now count to 120 before you open it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 120. I had to wash my hands again real quick. But you're not going to be touching any more raw meat or anything like that from now to the end. So I went ahead and washed out the pot that had the raw meat sitting in it. So it's sitting there in the sink. And I probably got another 15 seconds or so, to be 120 before I have to open this back up, stir it one more time. And then we're going to add more water. Now, when it comes to adding water, you want to add enough water so that it can boil down. We talk about boil down. And then you're going to add water after a few hours. So this first time, we're going to put water up until we can see just the side of the bone of the meat on top. And then we'll let that sit for 2 hours before we open it up again to check it and make sure that it's not completely dried out. And in that case, we add more water as needed. So we're in this together. We're gonna rock out. So let me go ahead and open it up, stir it one more time, and then I'm gonna add the rest of the water. I'm gonna cover it, set the timer for 4 hours, and then, I'll see you in 2 hours. There we go. I got the water, fresh water. Throw it in there. That's 1 cup. This is a big cup. So, but in terms of measurement, you just want to make sure that all of the meat is not 100% submerged underwater. That there's a little bit of meat that's exposed on the top above the water. So I'm going to need at least another cup, or a cup and a half. Now keep in mind, the whole entire time the flame has been on high, because what you want is for this to come to a complete boil before you turn it down to low. So that was actually 3 pretty massive cups of water. You could stir it again, just make sure that all the meat is evenly distributed throughout the pot. The garlic, not the garlic, the ginger is evenly distributed. So if you got a big piece over here, take another piece and put it over here. Make sure it's evenly distributed. Make sure that most of the meat is submerged underneath the water, and that you do still have some pieces that are exposed to the air. Go ahead and put the top on. Now mind you, I haven't set the timer yet. I have not set the timer for 4 hours yet. All this stuff is you putting your foot in it. This is all the pre-stuff. All right. Once this comes to a complete boil, then I'll set the timer for 4 hours. And then we'll check it in 2. So it's been maybe about 7-8 minutes or whatever. You want the pot to come up to a nice boil. And it looks like we got a nice boil going on right here. So you see the steam shooting out from the side. That's a good sign. And then we'll open it up, take a look. This is what you want to see. You want it to be boiling like crazy. That steak that I was saying I was going to make a little bit earlier, I was like, nah, never mind. Let me just go ahead and throw it in the pot. I just do the steak up in there. That's a bonus. So I haven't started the timer yet. So what I'm going to do now is set the timer on the oven. I mean, the oven has nothing to do with this recipe, right? But there's just there's a timer in the, or you can use your Apple Watch or Android Watch or whatever. Let me go ahead and set a timer for 4 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Click start. And then I'm going to turn the pot down to low because it's been on high the entire time we've been setting this up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that to low. And then do whatever you got to do to make sure you come back to this pot in 2 hours. Your timer on the stove is set for 4 hours, so it's not going to buzz until the 4th hour. So sometimes I'll set my watch. So let me go ahead and set that right now. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 hours.
Your timer is set for 2 hours.
So in 2 hours, Siri will remind me to come back to the pot because trust me, I've had those times where I put the food on the stove, and because you know how I like to start my whole vibration with my Cavassier or Hennessy or Cognac or whatever brand, doesn't matter. There's been some days where I forgot and left oxtail on the stove, and by the time I came back to it, it was a lost cause. So don't be that person that does that. Don't duplicate my blunder. Set your alarm so that you know to come back to the pot in 2 hours. And what you're really looking for is whether or not there's enough moisture in the pot. What you want it to do is boil down to the point where it's almost burnt, but not burnt, and put more water in there. And you'll do that for another hour. And then that last hour, we'll put the final ingredient. You know what? Let me go ahead and show y'all what the final ingredient is. I thought y'all probably was like, I thought you was done with ingredients. But you gotta have the beans, man. You gotta have the beans. Come on. Oxtail without the beans. Let me show you which ones I'm talking about. It's like butter. Baby, when they're good, I know excited. Butter beans. Like that butter love. Like that butter love. It's like that butter love. You got that butter love. Look, the butter beans. You gotta put the butter beans. But because the butter beans is in this can with some liquid, instead of putting more water on top of the beans, you just wait till that last hour, throw the the butter beans with the water. It's gonna be perfect. I'll show you when we get to that point. Right now, it's 5 minutes to 4 Eastern Standard Time. 6 o'clock, we'll come back, take a look in the pot and see how we doing from a what do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for? Like the liquid standpoint. You want it to be just on the edge, teetering around burnt, but not burnt. Because once you burn it, that's like, it's not cool, right? You want there to be some water in there, some hydration. So we'll check the hydration of the pot in 2 hours. I'll see you at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 2 hours. 1. No, not 1. 2 hours. 2 hours.
We have to normalize doing things a little different. Yeah, it's going to be awkward because we're bumping shoulders and we're staying 6 feet away. But that's what we're going to need to do to get through this. This virus is coming at us fast and hard. I know you all know the last time I was up here I said we have a few, now we have more. It's going to get worse. We're not going to be able to keep up with all of the positive cases. We don't need to. What we need to do is stay at home, do your social distancing. It's important. These are just temporary sacrifices. Right now, this is just to reduce the number of people around. It's temporary. It's not going to last forever, but it's got to happen now. It's really important that it does. This will slow down the spread of the disease. So this, when we say it, I don't want to say so. Just stay 6 feet away from people as much as you can. That's social distancing. Do that. That's our call to action. And I have to do this because I can't sleep at night. because I know if I don't tell you this in the most forceful way I can, then I'm going to have people who lose their lives. I can't afford that. That is not why the county executive hired me. I have to protect lives in this county. I'm not trying to scare you, but I am trying to scare you. You know, as a doctor, and I have bad news to tell somebody, I tell them the bad news, then I tell them how to get through it. I don't hold it back, and I'm not holding it back from you all. What we have to do is do this right now. Don't go to the X, Y, or Z to play cards. No, you got to stay at home. You understand what I mean? It's not entertainment time. Netflix is on. Watch some Netflix at home. You know, it's not time for it. It's time for us to stay at home. So having said that, I want you now to take care of yourself. Get some sleep, eat right, exercise, catch up
So
on
it's
the
official.
Netflix, like I said.
It's all done. The time
Stay
is
at home.
finished.
I want you to stop this.
I'm just going to open this for a second so you can see what the final product looks like. That's the rice beeping in the rice cooker. So it should be ready to plate in just a minute. In the meantime, while I'm not, digging into the pot, I'm going to just let it sit there and continue to marinate in its own heat. But I'm going to move the camera back so I don't get it all fogged up. That is it. Official. Oxtails done. I'm actually going to put another spoonful of the cornstarch in there just to thicken up that sauce a little bit more. But other than that, it's ready to rock.
Oh, man, river, won't you say a prayer for me now, baby? Tell Carolina, slow down. Oh, man, river, won't you say a prayer for me now,